Hello there, entrepreneurs and awesome life seekers. Jeff Lerner here. And in this video, we're going to cover sales, one of my favorite things in the world. We're going to be looking at sales processes, how to improve them, how to diagnose them if they're messed up, and how to make them even better if they're already working. And for this, I'm actually going to take you inside my own business where we have a really thriving sales culture and sales process and some really great optimized sales tools. And we're going to be using those to kind of illustrate the concepts that we are talking about. Let me start the video by saying, I hope you love sales. If you like money, you should like sales. I say that a lot. A lot of people like money, but they have like a distaste for selling. And I've never really figured out how those people think that anybody's supposed to get paid if nothing's being sold. But I'll leave that to other people to sort through logically. For purposes of this video, I'll just say, if you love sales and you want to get better at it and you want to make more money, we're going to show you how to do it. All right, so we're here to talk sales. I've put up on the screen here kind of the 5 basic steps of the sales process. These are somewhat adjustable based on your product or service, but in general, these are going to hold pretty tight. If you're maybe seeing one of my videos for the very first time, I suppose it's important to say that I really do know what I'm talking about when it comes to selling. In my career, again, I hate to flex here, but again, to be credible, you may need to know. In my career, I've sold upwards of $55 million in online products and services. So most of my selling has been online. But I've also done quite a bit of selling over the phone. I owned a phone-based sales organization for a time. That organization by itself did upwards of $20 million in sales. So I know a fair amount about selling. It's something I've proven to be pretty good at, and I'm a devoted student of. So I say all that so you're like, well, who is this guy, and why should I take his word for it? I know what I'm talking about. And actually, if you're seeing this, these are. Again, I hate doing this like I'm trying to impress you. It's not. I'm just trying to get your attention like, whoa, this guy knows what he's talking about. These are 8-figure awards. Each of these is for having online sales funnels that did over $10 million in sales. These are 2 Inc. 5000 awards. My company was nominated the Inc. 5000 twice. So yeah, point being, I know how to sell. So here are the 5 basic stages of selling. You have your prospecting and lead generation stage, your value demonstration stage, the lead qualification stage, the actual closing of the sales, and then delivering on the sales. And my intent here with this video is that, I'm going to speak sort of generally about these concepts. I'm going to give you specific examples of how I currently employ these concepts in my education business, but also I'm going to try to be broad enough that you could apply this reasonably to any business that you have as well, because these concepts are pretty close to universal. They generally apply to just about any type of business. So first of all, let's talk about prospecting and lead generation. I would say in general, this is an area where I see a lot of people's sales efforts falter, because they just simply aren't playing the numbers game as much as you really need to in order to be successful at selling. A lot of people, I think, just tend to measure their sales effectiveness with way too small of a sample group, and they fail to keep the pipeline sufficiently full. And a lot of times we can tend to sort of get narrowly preoccupied with the batch of leads that we're currently working, and we lose sight of just the volume of leads that it consistently takes to be successful with sales. 51% of all selling is just generating enough leads. Obviously, you need to be able to close and convert those leads, but I see a lot of people struggling more. They're so focused on sales, they forget to market. They're so focused on lead conversion, they forget to do demand generation and just get a lot of people coming through their door to even be pitched. So I'm going to show you, this is where we focus in my business and where I've always, since I've been, successful online, which goes back to 2008. This is where I've always focused, is just huge amounts of lead generation. I've often found myself in sales environments where, I wasn't necessarily directly competing with the next guy, but I was measured in relation to the next guy, whether it was in affiliate marketing contests or direct sales organizations. There was an ability to compare myself to other people. And while my conversions have always been pretty good, particularly on the back end, what I've always, I think, done really well that's allowed me to be a standout is just the sheer volume of leads. I tend to just not hold back and not be satisfied. I would rather have, and this goes against the grain of a little bit of sales, sales convention or sales best practice, but I'd rather have 1,000 leads and only be able to get to 300 of them than 200 leads and have room for 100, I could have talked to 100 more. I'd rather have more leads than I know what to do with, because then you're never operating from that place of scarcity or desperation. There's there's always more people. There's always more people. And it's, a lot of it is good just philosophically and in terms of your perspective, to constantly be experiencing and reminding yourself just how big the world is. A lot of sales organizations that tend to struggle, they have kind of a limited view of the world, and they just forget how gigantic the world is. And listen, if you're selling and you're limited in terms of who you can sell to, either geographically or maybe you're in a very small niche, not all sales is created equal. Like, change. Seriously, if you're a sales professional and you're in a very small niche, you don't have that many people to sell to, or you're very constrained geographically, you don't have that many people to sell to, or whatever the constraint is, unless you're in a really high net value niche where, you're selling, let's say, private jets, where you're out, each sale is worth $5 or $10 million and you make a $800,000 commission. Well, in that case, okay, fine. It's worth taking 2 years to sell maybe to a small group of people and getting somebody to buy something. But in general, if you're constrained, there's plenty of stuff to sell that has very broad appeal. Go sell something else. Now, if you own a business, I think this is where my sort of theory that a lot of people misunderstand what it means to own a business or to provide a service. I always use a dentist, for example. It's just kind of my go-to. Is like, if you're a dentist, your job isn't fixing teeth or dealing with teeth. Your job is selling the service of fixing or dealing with teeth. That's your lead generation is about finding people who have problems with their teeth. Demonstrating value is about showing how you can help people with their teeth. Qualifying your leads is about making sure they can afford your services or that they actually are a right fit for you. Negotiating is about sell, getting the deal. Then and only then do you deliver on the service. It's the fifth of 5 steps. The first 4 steps had nothing to do with the actual mechanics of dealing with people's teeth. Now, certainly you had to know that you had the ability to do that so that you could sell with confidence. But delivering on the teeth part of it for a dentist, that's the 5th out of 5 steps. Your job is to get the people in the chair having paid for the service or with the ability to pay for the service so that then you can fulfill and collect the money. That's your job. If you don't see that as your job, then you're not giving your dental hygienist and you're not giving your receptionist job security. You're not giving your landlord security that you're going to be able to pay the rent. You're not giving your family security that you're going to be able to keep a roof over their head and put them through college or give them a car or whatever. You're not doing any of that unless you realize that your job is to sell the service. Delivering on the service is how you see the sale all the way through. You promote good customer satisfaction. You promote a good reputation. But even then, the purpose of a good reputation is to facilitate the additional sale of services, either to more customers or at higher prices. I'm adamant that your sales and your marketing, it's not just a a precursor to your business. It is your business. And when you get clear on that, you'll be more successful in your business. And I've always recognized that. And I've always focused on generating just frankly crap loads of leads. So that said, let me show you kind of what I do. Generally speaking, your prospecting, your lead generation, another term you'll hear is demand generation, is basically a combination of marketing and selling. You're selling the idea of expressing interest, of giving you enough information that you can actually, bring them into your funnel. Like ideally, say like giving you an email address or giving you a phone number that you can follow up with, or maybe giving you a physical address so you can send them a mailer. That's actually a sale. You're selling the exchange of information. But I would say the majority of what you're doing in this phase is actually educating and stoking demand, creating demand, and scouring the world. So I focus a ton of time and energy on this. I'll show you a lot of what I do for this. So obviously, if you're watching this video, you may very well have been exposed to my YouTube channel. You can see I've put out, I've been actively building this channel for over a year now, and put out how many videos? It doesn't even say here. Hundreds and hundreds of videos, 300-400 videos I've put out, just constantly giving content. And I'm actually doing two things with that. I'm generating leads. I'm also demonstrating value. I want to show people what I know. I want to show people what I can do. And at the same time, entice them to come for more. I also have a podcast, put a ton of time and energy into this. It's only been out for a few months. I've got 38 episodes at the time I'm shooting this that are published, but we've got another 40 in the production pipeline. And so these are just two examples of free, my gift to the world type of content creation that would fit equally into the prospecting and lead generation and also demonstration of value. Just like I said, I think a lot of people don't emphasize enough the generation of mass quantities of leads. I think also a lot of people don't emphasize enough the demonstration of massive amounts of value. Listen, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work to get enough leads, and it is a lot of work to demonstrate enough value to those leads that you actually stand out and have a good shot in the market. But here's the thing about doing all that work. If you do the work the right way up front, if you generate an ample quantity of leads and you demonstrate an ample amount of value, then by the time it comes time to sell, that's easy. And so the thing that most people associate is, oh, it's so hard. I hate sales. I hate selling. It's so hard. I hate rejection. I fear the no, but I don't want to ask for the yes. And it's high pressure and it's off-putting and all this stuff. Okay, great. You know what? You can get past all of that just by having enough leads and demonstrating enough value. You do those two things well enough, you literally virtually never have to sell anything. People actually want to do business with you. And frankly, there's more of them than you could probably even handle if you're generating enough leads and you're demonstrating enough value. I say this to business owners all the time. I've been brought in as a consultant for a number of sales and marketing companies. I don't do that much consulting anymore because I just, kind of prefer to spend most of the time on my own business. But everywhere I go, I would just always be like, why aren't you publishing more? Why aren't you creating more? Why aren't you putting more time and energy into putting your information out to market in a way that feels generous, in a way that feels, value focused, instead of having meetings and yelling at your salespeople to close more deals? If your salespeople aren't closing more deals, it's because you haven't made the deals easy enough to close. Now, unless you have weak salespeople, but likely you don't. Likely you don't stand out in the market. So people are coming in having to be convinced about why they need to do business with you. And there's all this pressure in many cases because you don't have enough people coming in. And so you're treating every single one like it's like you're desperate, like you don't dare blow the deal or your whole business is going to fail. You just need more people that are preconditioned with more value. So anyway, I've got my YouTube channel, I've got my podcast giving out tons of value, but also I fill the pipeline with gazillions of leads. I spend the money, I invest the resources. This is one of our Facebook ad accounts. At the time I'm shooting, in the last 7 days, this Facebook ad account has spent about 25 grand. This is one of our YouTube accounts. In the last 7 days, this account has spent about 30 grand. And these are 2 of 6 accounts. My business, we have 3 Facebook ad accounts, 3 YouTube ad accounts. We have a Google search ad account. We have a Bing ad account. I mean, I show these numbers. Now, obviously, you build up to these numbers. You scale up to these numbers. You don't come out of the gate spending, $500,000 a month on leads. But you can get there if you have good value in the market that supports the volume and the quantity of leads and makes them easy to sell and easy to convert. If you have a good offer and you're providing a ton of value, then you can afford to go out to the market, spend the money, have a relatively effective sales process that's not so painful and like pulling teeth to get people to want to do business with you. And then you can scale up your ads. Like, it's really fun. It's really fun when you do it the right way. So again, lead generation, some of that is demonstrating value with the podcast and the YouTube channel. And then qualifying your leads. You have to have something in your process that actually helps you determine who's serious versus who's curious. Who's going to move forward versus who's going to waste your time. And at various times in my career, I've had different things. I've had, trials where I wait and see if they're going to actually clear the free trial period. I've had downloads, what we call tripwire offers, cheat sheets, blueprints, ebooks, free guides. I've had video boot camps. I can track and see who completes the boot camp. I've had, surveys and forms they fill out, say who fills out the form thoroughly, who gives complete answers versus flippant little one-word answers. There's all kinds of things you can do to find out if people are serious or not. In the current business that I'm running, we have a couple different funnels, but one of them, super simple, super effective, is just this basic ebook funnel. So this is literally how I'm qualifying my leads. And there's a couple ways, but it starts with the book. Are they downloading the book? Are they actually opening the email where I send them the link to the book? Are they clicking the link to actually receive the book? Basically, are they willing to read a 10 or whatever it is, 12-page book? I've got it right here. How many pages is it? I don't know. Maybe it's 20 pages. It's not a long book. I don't know if you can see that here, but I've got the book right here. It's not a long book. Are they serious? Are they willing to actually get access to the book and read it? If so, that's a good sign. I also, what I do is I have a video that comes after the book. After you access the book, I have a video, I think it's 25 minutes, and I'm able to actually measure who watches how much of the video. So if somebody watches a video for 30 seconds and then they click off, that person's not really doing it for me. But if somebody watches a video for 18 minutes and then they click off, I'm able to initiate some follow-ups and some automation that says, hey, treat this person seriously. Get them back to finish the video. Invite them to go further, to learn more, maybe offer to answer questions. Treat them seriously. So you're qualifying your leads, which, depending on your offer, your product or service, you're going to have your own way of doing that, but it's extremely important. So, and again, it speaks to if you have sufficient lead generation and you've demonstrated enough value, then what you've done is you've eliminated the scarcity of like, oh, there's not enough people, so I have to start hunting down people even if they're not qualified, or they may be qualified, but they didn't feel enough value from my offer to actually demonstrate their qualification. In other words, let's say you have somebody who's really serious, and all things being equal, they would have watched the whole video. They might have bought, they might have become a customer, but because they didn't trust me, because they hadn't experienced or received any value from me, they didn't know that I actually knew what I was talking about, or that I was who I said I was, or even that they didn't even know who I was. They didn't actually manifest as qualified because I hadn't actually generated sufficient interest in them or sufficient demand, right? So sometimes a lack of qualified leads is actually a failure on your part or the business owner's part to demonstrate sufficient value to get qualified leads to actually show that they're qualified by taking the qualification steps. See how it works? It's all a loop. And ultimately the right answer is always give more value. What do I do in business? How do I succeed in business? How do I make this offer work? How do I make my business profitable? How do I grow? It's always give more value, give more value. It's a lot of work. That's why most people don't do it. That's why most people don't have successful businesses. But if you're willing to do it, if you're willing to give an extraordinary amount of value, the world is literally at your fingertips. Okay? So as far as that, the other thing I have, and different products have different sequences and different ways of qualifying people. But another thing I'll show you, for example, we deliver a course that has staged lessons. So there's like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, and we're able to track and see what percentage of people are getting through the different steps. So for example, we have a 6-step curriculum. 33% of people get through 6 steps, get through 3 steps, 33% get through 3 steps, 24% get through 6 steps. Well, if somebody gets through all 6 steps, it's about 1 out of 4. That's a very qualified person. That's somebody who has spent several hours going through and experiencing the value. Now, that doesn't just mean that they're qualified because they spent the time. It also means they're qualified because they were experiencing the value that we were delivering and they were resonating with it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have kept going. So you're trying to create this ecosystem where there's a give and take. There's a synergy between the person who's qualified and the value that you're delivering so that the qualified person is incentivized to keep going, thus showing you that they're qualified, but they're only going to do that if you're delivering sufficient value, right? And by the way, that all starts way up front. That often starts before they ever even opt into your funnel. That often starts before they ever even give you an email address. I can't tell you how many people I have in my world and in my business who say, Jeff, I've been watching your videos for months, and I finally decided to sign up for your list. And by the way, speaking of your list, this is our SendLane account. I mean, you can see 344,000 contacts in our account. We're constantly sending out these emails to people, 280,000 emails, 277,000 emails, 13,000 opens, 14,000 opens, 13,000 opens, 12,000 opens, 34,000 opens. We have a lot of communication going on, and that's one of the ways that you continue to demonstrate value. That's actually one of the reasons that demonstrating value comes after prospecting and lead generation. You could say, well, my YouTube channel comes before it. I would say my YouTube channel is value and lead generation happening concurrently. But in general, the point of getting the lead isn't so you can sell them. The point of getting the lead is so that you can continue to demonstrate so much value that they sell themselves. Understand that. The reason I want the lead, sure, I'd love it if they buy something from me right away, but in general, it's so that I can continue to build enough of a relationship with them. It's like if you see a girl on the street, a pretty girl, and you're like, oh, I'd like to build a relationship with her. What do you need? You need her number. You can't just be like, well, I hope I pass her on the street again. Now, granted, I'm married. This doesn't apply to me. But in general, you get the metaphor. You can't be like, well, I hope I pass her again someday so I can demonstrate value and build a relationship. No, you got to get her number. You got to get some way to stay in contact. That's what the email opt-in is. It's so that you can continue to demonstrate value. You don't get the number and then call her up and be like, yo, let's elope. Let's go get married. I got 2 plane tickets. No, you got to follow up, continue to demonstrate value, woo them, win them, charm them, all that good stuff, right? So then, and only then, having done all of that, do you finally get to close the sale, right? Actually, let me come back here. So for us, we measure all of this. So we're able to look and say, okay, people who get through these steps, then they come through this conversation. This is a particular part, sort of a nexus in our process. We're able to track sales conversions. We're able to track the number of pitches that convert into sales, obviously revenue per lead. We have all this data that tells us how effective we're being at closing. But the reality is, if we're not being as effective at closing as we want to be, it's probably because it's on me. As they say in business, the bottleneck is always at the top of the bottle, right? This is one thing business owners need to understand. I've run sales organizations for a long time. if your sales effort in your business is struggling, it's either a breakdown in your sales process, which is on you as the owner, or it's a breakdown in your lead generation and or your value that you're establishing with your leads, which is also on you as a business owner. Sales is always your problem. I don't care if you're a dentist. I don't care if you're an auto mechanic. I don't care if you're a digital marketer. I don't care if you own a car dealership. It's always on you. The bottleneck, the bottleneck is always at the top of the bottle if you're the business owner, right? So first of all, you need to be measuring this stuff. You need to have a systemization process for this stuff. You can't expect to control what you're not even measuring. You got to be filling the pipeline with tons of leads. You got to be putting 80% of your personal effort as a business owner. This is what I think a lot of, it's kind of the E-Myth concept for business owners. Like, you got to get out of your business. You can't be living in the bowels of your business. You got to be out there schmoozing and moving and shaking and getting the word out to the world and bringing attention and awareness to your business. Hire someone to do the internal workings of your business. And if you can't afford it, then you got to ask yourself a serious question. Do I really have a business, or do I just have a job where I happen to also be the one who cuts the check to myself, if I'm lucky? If you can't be spending the majority of your time out there giving massive value to the market, generating tons of leads to come in and learn more, making sure that the qualified ones do identify themselves because they're feeling the value that they're going to reciprocate by saying, I am qualified, I'm going through your system, I'm going through your products, I want more. You will know that I'm qualified because I feel your value, so I'm going to let you know. And then ultimately, you're facilitating your sales people or sales process, whatever, to make for an easy close. If that's not all happening, that's on you. And then, and only then, do you fulfill the product or service. Now, don't get me wrong. Product fulfillment or service fulfillment is a very important step, partly because it makes for great satisfied customers that leads to good word of mouth, which helps create essentially zero cost lead generation and increases the sense of value for your product or service in the market, but also because it directly creates the possibility of a repeat customer. If you know Jay Abraham's value principles, you know that there are only a few ways to make more money in a business. You can either get more customers, you can either raise your prices, or you can get the customers you have to buy multiple products. Those are the only three ways to make more money in a business. Now, obviously, we're talking about getting more customers. That's lead generation and demonstrating value. But listen, if you deliver like gangbusters, you're going to have people wanting to buy from you again, and or the goodwill that you create in the market is going to allow you to raise your prices. Now, there's a lot more I could say here. I could carry on for hours about this stuff, and I'm not going to. But there's one thing that I do want to say. I want to make sure that I weave this into the conversation. I periodically do coaching and training with our sales team, and I've done sales. I've done consulting, sales process consulting with other sales and marketing companies. And one of the biggest objections that you deal with, you sort of tackle in particularly, especially in B2B selling, is people saying, I don't have the room. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't need more customers. I've got all I can handle, right? Man, nothing drives me more crazy than hearing people say that. If you have all of a thing that you can handle, you're undercharging. Maybe you're watching this going, well, you know what, Jeff? I've got all the business I can handle. No, you don't have all the business you can handle. Maybe you have all the business. You don't have all the money you can handle. You just have too low of prices. Raise your prices. If you've got more demand than supply, then you need to drive demand down and raise your price. Then you'd have better margins. You could afford to grow capacity to handle more customers. So anyways, that's a little bit of an aside, a tangent, but it's also really, really important. Like I said, it's just it's a point of emphasis that I like to make because I hear it so often, and it's like it makes no sense to me when people say I have all the business I can handle. It's like, no, you don't. You just have too low of prices. Anyway, so all that to say, deliver and fulfill, but recognize that is only the 5th step out of 5 in having a good sales organization. Okay? Like I said, I could talk about this for hours, but I think that's enough for now. And actually, I had this pulled up. I'll show you. Because we sell training, this is where we actually fulfill our courses. And you can see actually when we do that. I'll give you one course for example. You look at the feedback in our courses. So we have here 3,500 positive comments. Thank you. Super inspiring. Great start. I'm ready. Great lesson. Thanks so much. Very insightful. I appreciate it. The point is I have good feedback. I do a good job on delivery and fulfillment. And then I capture the feedback. That's another thing we could definitely talk about. But in terms of demonstrating value, one of the ways that you demonstrate value is by capturing feedback from your satisfactory delivery and fulfillment and feeding it back into the funnel, feeding it back into the demand generation or the lead generation, and ultimately the qualification. Like I said, if people feel the value, then the ones that are qualified are going to be more likely to show themselves so that you know who to focus on. All right. Thanks for your time. I will invite you, if you've liked this video, to let me know. Give me a like. Maybe leave a comment. Ask a question. I love sales. I love talking about sales. I love helping people get better at sales. I think sales is what moves the world around, and I like seeing the world turn. So let me help you with your sales. If you'd like to be a part of a free group where we are committed to getting better at business, better as entrepreneurs, and ultimately having better quality of lives, go to Facebook, visit the Entre, E-N-T-R-E Nation Facebook group. Also, feel free to subscribe to this channel. I would love to have you as a subscriber. And again, leave a comment. Let me know how I can help. And if you're interested in going further with my actual trainings and learning how you can start to put these kinds of concepts to use in your own life to ultimately create a new future, new set of possibilities, new way of generating income, I would love to potentially have you as an actual customer inside my community or in my educational business, Entre Institute. That's what I got. Thanks so much. I'll see you on the next video. Take care.